Hello, my sexy aliens, and welcome to another weekly video. It's been a few weeks since I've done the weeklies, so we are getting back into the groove of things during this chaotic second half of Cancer season. This is the part where the chaos starts kicking in. The second half of Cancer season is not like the first half, okay? And I talked about that a lot in my July horoscopes video for each sign. The second half of Cancer season is where things get a little bit more intense, and I'm sure people can already be, I'm sure a lot of you can already feel it. I've seen some of your comments. I've even had some like messages from friends and, you know, people in my own life, clients, etc. And it's like, what in the hell? Like, I was chilling, everything was good, and since that full moon, or like over like the last week or over the last few days, things are really changing all of a sudden. And so this is the start of that, okay? And it's okay, you don't need to be scared. I'm gonna talk to you a lot about how to get through it in today's video, because we don't have a lot of transits happening this week, but we do have two transits happening this week that are a big deal, and that is the Mercury retrograde starts in the sign of Leo, and then also Mars will join the South Node the very end of this week on Sunday. We'll talk about it. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get into it because I don't want to waste too much time. I have a lot I want to say about this, and so let's go ahead and get into what this week looks like. Oh, my chart should be up on the screen now, but if you are new to one of these videos or don't normally watch my weeklies, just a little bit of a heads up. Number one, I am very chillaxed in these videos. I like to do these videos a little bit more like podcast style. We go in really deep and talk about a lot of different collective topics and, you know, things going on that I'm noticing patterns in, and we relate it back to the astrology. Also, number two, with that being said, because I've noticed a few comments recently, pretty much my channel and my gifts are really geared towards like personal empowerment. I know, and I've said this in a post before, but I just want to say this again. There are tons of different astrologers out there. There are astrologers that do historic astrology and focus on like the history and the patterns and breaking that all down. And I've had different time periods where I've been into that too. There are like world event astrologers, news astrologers, prediction astrologers that really get into that whole side of things. And I have dragged in pieces of that within my content in the past as well. But that all to be said, that there are like health astrologers and stuff too, but all that to say that those are not necessarily my current path, right? And something that I've noticed since the very beginning of astrology, and the number one core focus of my astrology is geared towards helping you grow and evolve and figure out who you are, find your personal power, figure out what the fuck you're doing here, okay? Like, like looking within, because I truly believe, and it goes along with this Leo Mercury retrograde that we're about to have, that when we change, okay, the world changes. All right. When we change a piece and a corner of our own reality in our own world, one step, one person at a time. And so and that's personal empowerment to me. Like, that literally is energetics to me. That's manifestation. That's spirituality. That is your power as a soul on this mother effing earth. Okay. When we are too focused outside of ourselves, and not say that you can't care, not saying that I don't care. And this is another thing we're going to talk about, is misunderstandings, because I can already feel all of the things that I'm saying right now that are going to be twisted and taken the wrong way. But not saying that I don't care, okay? But I'm only one person. Like, I don't know. I mean, I can only do too much. I can only do so much, and I don't have power over the world, right? But I do have power over myself, and I can make sure that I am actually embodying the change that I wish to see and carrying that with me on a day-to-day basis in my own life to potentially affect those around me and affect the people that I work with and help them, so then they go out into the world and they create change as well. Like, basically what I'm saying is my personal path in astrology has never really been about like world events or like what's going on in the world at large, or like major predictions. Like, I mainly talk about the different lessons and the different themes and the different, you know, patterns and like the different codes that we see from the astrological symbolism and from these different signs, but I'm not like going to sit here and say, and I also don't believe in just spreading fear, like just to be right about something, like that's just not my style. So that's what I do here. If that is your vibe, like if you understand that, or you're here to like work on yourself, and like that's what I do. If you don't understand that and you're looking for something else that's outside of that, then there are tons of other channels. There's tons of other astrologers these days that you can go watch and get stuff like that from. But that's personally just not my journey right now, and I don't really believe it's a part of my bigger mission anyway. I don't really know how else to explain it other than that's just not where my gifts are. Okay, so anyway, moving on from that. So basically, the first thing that I want to talk about this week is Mercury and Leo going retrograde. And this is a big deal because it also rules over the other transit we're going to talk about, which is Mars and Virgo, coming up on the South Node in Virgo as well. Mercury is actually the ruler of Virgo. So both of these things are kind of connected in a really interesting way this week. But first, I want to talk about Mercury going retrograde in Leo because that happens on July 18th. And I really am excited for this particular Mercury retrograde. Like, I feel like we need it. I can already see the themes leading up to like why we need this Mercury retrograde like so beautifully. And I'm going to talk about them, and likely you've experienced them somewhere in your life as well, or have noticed a few things. Okay, so number one, Leo as a sign is ruled by the sun, and which is SOL, right? Soul. Like astrologically, and way back in the day, a lot of ancient cultures and civilizations literally looked at the sun like it was God. Like there's so much of the different religions that actually look at the sun like it was God, and that's what they're talking about, And so anyway, Leo is ruled by the sun, and so therefore the sun is like taking that source, energy, that vitality, and kind of giving it to the sign of Leo, since it rules the sign of Leo. So Leo as a sign is so much about our vitality, our identity, our mission here on this earth, and our heart, the way that we radiate our energy outwardly, the way that like we are our own leaders in a way. And whenever we go through some kind of shift within, it manifests outwardly, right? Because these are the energetics of what we are here. Like when we embody the shift happens regardless. It collapses time. Okay, so Leo's about our heart, our talents, our gifts, and where we shine. Okay, now it's also about our self-esteem, our confidence, our charisma, our life force energy. So this also goes into, the shadow side of Leo at times is so much about kind of getting a little bit too in the ego, and then like almost expecting validation, expecting other people to validate you or like give you an applause all the time. It's kind of like the little kid that like works forever, like you work forever on drawing a picture for like a school project, and then like you turn in your picture and you are so hyped up, you are so proud of it, like you think it's going to be the best one and you're going to like win this competition, and the teacher like doesn't even say anything, like doesn't give you a compliment, doesn't give you any feedback, and it's like, and it just hurts the ego. Like it hurts that sense of pride that like we all have. It like kind of like hurts our hearts a little bit. It's a little painful. This is Leo energy because it deals with like the source of our confidence. Are we confident in ourselves because of who we are and because we love ourselves? Or are we only confident in ourselves when we have the external validation that like we're good people, or we get the Instagram likes, or we get the feedback, or we get the nice comments, or we have people telling us how good we look, or whatever the case? Like, are we looking for external validation, and are we feeling super unseen, or are we needing that validation from others, and when we don't get it, or even when we get like, shittiness from others, like others are being unappreciative of us or misunderstanding us, are we allowing that to affect how we see ourselves, and are we shrinking ourselves into an old version of us? And this is so important because I have seen this everywhere, and it like literally just took me until the last couple of days where I'm like, this is freaking like I'm seeing this all over. I'm seeing this with clients, I'm seeing this with family members, I'm seeing this with friends, I'm even seeing it with myself at this point. It's been crazy, like the amount of times I've seen this same pattern pop up, and it's different players or it's different characters involved, but it's the same pattern, and it's this feeling of being misunderstood. And like, whether it's someone starting a rumor about you or someone saying something about you or bringing something up from your past that, yeah, maybe it was true at one point, or maybe there was some truth to it at some point, but now it's not. Maybe people are just flat out lying about you, or maybe they think a certain way about you that isn't necessarily correct and you know it, right? Or maybe they're treating you in a certain way that makes you feel small, unappreciated, and it's just like you know the truth and you want to defend it so bad, but then you're like, you know, like it's just going to turn into this big conflict, or you're just going to, maybe you've like done enough work on yourself to where like you need to sit with this a little bit more so it doesn't just come out as this massive angry explosion, like, or it's just going to stir up more drama, like whatever the case may be. So this Mercury retrograde in Leo, I think, is bringing up a lot of this right now. Okay, it's like a revision of our it's almost like a revision of our spark, okay? And where we've allowed others or external situations or life or even ourselves, like we could be doing this to ourselves, where we've allowed ourselves, others, etc., to dim our spark. It's like we're each holding like a candle, and there's some of us, and you can tell just by like looking at these types of people, like, and maybe we've been through it ourselves, where like the spark is just not there, like that candlelight is barely there, like you look into their eyes and it's like poof, they're gone, like, and it's like, whoa. Or they just look like they're barely hanging on because they're so dimmed down. They have dimmed their light so far down because in a way to protect themselves, or like whatever the case may be. And so it's like, where have we dimmed our spark? And this Leo, this Mercury retrograde in Leo is going to really bring this up. I really, really feel this like so strongly. Because here's the thing, and this is what I want you to remember about this retrograde. Like, come back to this video if you have to over the next few weeks. Like, this is what I need you to remember about this retrograde. Because this is, I think, the biggest lesson of all of it, and it ties it all together. Basically, and it's this quote that is, the portal to every next level is in the parts of yourself that you avoid. The portal to every next level is in the parts of you that you avoid, okay? That feel unseen, that feel invalidated, okay? So if this is you, if what I've been saying so far is resonating, and you have either there's an external situation in your life, or another person, or a group of friends, or a boss, or a partner, or an ex-partner, or like whatever, that is, doing something or saying something that is making you feel this big, like this itty bitty, and it could just be life. It may not even be like another person. It can be whatever, right? I don't like plug and play your situation, okay? But basically, this is what I'm talking about, because like when you're met with some kind of experience that reflects back to you some kind of old version, it like triggers some kind of old version of you within yourself. It's like some kind of old version of yourself, or an old way that you used to perceive yourself in some way. Like maybe you have like a boss that can be kind of very condescending, or kind of almost talks to you like you're just dumb, why don't you get this? Like, you should get this, and it makes you feel like this freaking small every single time, and maybe it reminds you of like other ways that you used to feel, or it makes you feel timid and like weak and like whatever. That part is the old version of you, right? The part of you that feels timid, weak, small, like, or it's a way that you used to perceive yourself, right? So when we're faced with these situations, regardless of who it's coming from or where it's coming from, when we're met with an experience that reflects back to us an old version, or that triggers an old version of ourselves, do we collapse into the old us? Do we defend the old us? Or do we integrate the old us? And that's really... And once we integrate it, then, we allow ourselves to move forward. So it's like, how can we respond from our current self without completely resorting back to this like old, wounded part of us, right? But also, how can we respond, with our current selves, with also not going straight into this like massive defense mode, right? Where we're now looking like, like we're just kind of in this like defensive mode, right? So it's kind of this balance, and I've been really thinking about this. I'm like, really, what is it? Like, what is all of this really coming up for? Like, and again, I really think it has to do with, we are like, especially if you're relating to this so far, like, and this has been happening to you, like, you will be met with these experiences that bring up, you know, basically the triggers that are holding you back. So it's like like I said, the portal to every next level is in the parts of yourself that you avoid, right? So these parts are coming up now because they're ready to be reconciled, integrated, healed. You know, they are ready to be faced. So we don't keep resorting back to them. Like, they're not coming up so you resort back to them, or so you are having this like massive, you know, insecurity come up, or so you can just, you know, say, oh, screw it, well, I was doing so good and now I'm not, like, I'm questioning everything. Like, no, like, just because you are struggling with maybe validation or self-worth or confidence in a situation, or there's a certain situation in your life that is making you feel small, it's like, okay, this doesn't mean that this is everything that you are. Right? Just because you felt small in that moment, or you struggled with this in that moment, doesn't mean that it's all of who you are 24/7. It doesn't mean that you're small all the time and that you just lack confidence all the time, you know? Like, that's not what it means, right? So anyway, how can we respond from our current selves? And who do we want to be in these moments? And like, and this is where it's like, okay, well, there's a past you that is coming up here that is like, hey, this is real, this outer situation is really triggering this for me, or is really making me remember these old memories, or this one time. And it's like, okay, well, that's why it's coming up, because the path forward is through this past version of yourself, is through finally facing this past version of yourself and realizing that they're not holding you back. They're trying to show you the path forward. They're coming up for you to, like, you know, integrate, heal, sit with, you know, that way they can finally be let go of. That way they're no longer, you know, they're no longer just sitting stuck within you. Okay, so anyway, this Mercury retrograde in Leo is so much about this. It is so much about the entanglement that we have with old identities, past, you know, our past selves, or certain past selves that we have, and where we feel misunderstood or unappreciated, or where we have been doing things out of validation, or like performing in a certain way just to receive appreciation and validation. But it's like, now we're realizing like that's not who we authentically are, or it doesn't feel true to ourselves anymore. And so now it's like we need to change it. This Mercury retrograde in Leo is bringing that up this week. And I really think that this is going to be big. You know, I think that this is going to be big because, again, Mercury rules Virgo, where Mars and the South Node are coming together. So again, this is the South Node. This is some kind of karmic entangled history that has gotten, you know, kind of jammed up. That's like, where have you kind of told yourself all these stories, or like given into like all these details, or given into this like old identity, or these old identities, or these old ways of perceiving of yourself, like, oh, I'm not useful, or I'm not good enough, or I don't have the skills, or I don't have what it takes, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And you'll really want to look at where this is happening in your chart. Where do you have Leo and Virgo in your chart right now? And well, not right now, but always, but where you have Leo and Virgo in your chart. And it's like, where are we being overly critical on ourselves, judging ourselves? Where are we being perfectionistic? Or this could even be coming from the outside. It could be like like something from the outside could be mirroring this back to us by like, maybe there's somebody in our life that is like this, that expects a lot, that's overly perfectionistic, that has very high standards, that's like overly detailed, that's like micromanaging everything, you know, like all of that. And so anyway, these are just some different areas it can, or different ways it can play out. But the main questions that I would really ask yourself for this upcoming Mercury retrograde in Leo is, where have I dimmed my voice and my heart, right? To either receive validation, or to fit in, or to get along, or to look like I like have it together, or whatever the case may be. for whatever reason, right? Where have I dimmed my voice and my heart? Where am I not expressing my true authentic self? Like, where have I not been real with like what's going on with me or what I feel? Where have I not stayed true to myself? Where have I been repressing things in order to fit in or to, gain something? Also, where have we chosen to please the crowd or others and alter who we are because of that, right? And this is going to be so much of the case because the sun is going to then come into Leo next week and oppose Pluto, but also Mercury is going to retrograde back and oppose Pluto as well in Aquarius. So this really brings up this back and forth kind of archetype of like who we are and what we know about ourselves and our own confidence, our own kind of life force energy versus others, and potentially the critique of others or others' perceptions, or again, where have we chosen to kind of just fit in or please the crowd and not been totally true to ourselves. Or where and it may not even just be the crowd, it could be just others or one other person or a few other people or whatever the case, may be for different ones of you. So also, our mind and our hearts on the same page, right? Like this is huge. The mind and the head and heart thing with Leo and with Mercury retrograding here, it's like this Mercury retrograde is going to help us get these two things on the same page so that we can, move forward and feel aligned in the way that we're moving forward. Okay. And this is also about just being more real, being more authentic, being more real with our voice. And again, like that's why I brought up the different ways of like, because I think that when someone feels misunderstood, there's this instinct to like speak up, right? And I think that we definitely shouldn't repress our voice, right? Like we definitely shouldn't repress our voice out of fear. But if we're also just speaking up to try to prove ourselves, then it's still like the same as repressing ourselves out of fear in a lot of ways, because it's like you only need to prove yourself to yourself, right? Like you really, if you already know who you are, you don't need other people to understand it. Like, because likely the ones that don't understand it aren't your people anyway. So like so many people are like, well, what, like I'm working on this project, what if they don't get it? Or what if people don't like it? Or what if people don't like the way that I do something? Okay, what people are we even talking about here? Well, the people that don't like it. And it's like, okay, but like who are the people that don't like it? Well, they don't understand it, they don't get it, or they don't relate with, the way that I do things, or they don't understand me. And it's like, okay, well then why are you focused on those people? You're basically focused on the peanut gallery. Like you're basically focused on the critics, right? But like, what about all the people that support it? And I literally had this like experience this morning. Like I hadn't checked my comments in like a few days because I've been super busy, and I like checked my comments and I read through like nice comment after nice comment after incredible comment after incredible comment. Like I went through like 20 comments that were just so nice and like made me so happy. And then I had like one kind of like negative comment, and instantly it was just like, and so like I still have those moments too, where it's like I've got to like course correct here and look at myself and being like, why am I allowing this one negative comment to affect me? You know what I mean? Like, and I was able to let it go a bit more easier just because I've been doing this for so long now. But still, I get it. It's like no matter how many nice voices there are, or how many people are totally in alignment with what you're doing, or vibing with what you're doing, or supportive of what you're doing, the people that aren't can stand out a little bit more. But it's like, when it bothers us, like what is it showing us about ourselves? What are we really needing from them in those moments? Because it's like, number one, we may not even know them. So it's like, why do we need them to understand? Like especially in like, my situation that I was just describing, like it's like a random person that I don't even know leaving a comment. Like, why did I need them to understand me? They obviously took something I said out of context, or took something I said and made it into something else that I didn't say. And it used to drive me nuts when people would do that. And it's like, and I even found myself like, I'm going to have to like literally explain this even more and make it even more like, make it even more basic so people get it. And so there's no questions, and talk about extra things in there and make sure I give like disclaimers in there all the time. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that for the small percentage of people that don't get it. or are not even focused on what the whole point of the video was and just want to focus on whatever else, like the negativity, or try to start something, or like whatever. Like, I'm not going to like edit myself and alter myself for that, right? So again, and that's what kind of gave me the whole, you know, idea of like, where have we maybe been pleasing the crowd, you know? And like, people, even, that's why I started this video with like people asking me lately to talk about like certain world events, and it's like, I honestly haven't looked into it lately. That's not where my journey's been lately. My journey has been focusing on myself and my own spiritual connection, because that is where I am a clearer channel to help other people, which is how I help the world, and which is the only thing that I really have control over, you know? And so it's not that I don't care. It's not that I'm spiritually bypassing anything. I'm not avoiding anything, you know? It's just what feels like is my path at this moment, and other things don't. And like, that's just where I'm at, you know? I'm not going to get pressured into talking about something that I don't feel is my place to talk about, because again, it just doesn't feel like what I'm being called to do right now, you know? Like, it's so anyway, but that's basically this retrograde, my starting thoughts on this Leo retrograde, and what I think that the different themes I think it's definitely probably going to bring up for us. It's going to be very interesting. And, you know, speaking of power and all of that, like, we have so many power themes that are about to come into play early next week as the sun moves into its home sign of Leo and immediately starts opposing Pluto. And so it's definitely going to be more of an intense week next week, especially the first few days of next week. And then, yeah, you know, and as we're reflecting with this Mercury retrograde on like these past identities and this Mars in, you know, South Node, what we need to let go of, the you know, kind of mental and physical things that are holding us back in our lives and preventing us from moving forward in a healthy way. Old habits, old ways of thinking, old, you know, kind of getting lost in too many details about what's right or what's wrong or what's not, or who we are and what we did, and is it enough, and am I enough, and am I useful enough, and I've got to improve this and I've got to improve that. And it's like, you know, just letting go of the things that we cannot control is going to be very, very huge with this Mars South Node conjunction. So that is what I got for this week. Let me know down below how that all related to you guys. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, badass alien, because you are, and I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.